Hey, hi everyone. Thank y'all for joining us for our Beef Brunch news update. And now that I'm saying that, I've already forgotten. Is it April 15th, 16th, somewhere in there? Tripp, what's the date?
It'll be the 15th when we publish it.
Thank you. We were just discussing before this. I know I say this quite often, but man, Mondays get to you. We're in the middle of data collection on a project over at the Dean Lee Research Station. So if you hear bawling calves in the background, that's because we've got them separated while we work the cows. We've got multiple people on the road, multiple Master Cattlemans, so everybody's kind of everywhere. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with Vince.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me this week. Yes, I'm on the road today, and I was part of entertaining a group from Kentucky, the extension group, and it was mostly beef cattle people, but they were visiting a sugarcane production producer in St. Landry Parish, and I was asked to make a presentation, so I got hung up with them probably longer than I needed to, but it was a good visit. As far as the cattle scene, people are starting to work cattle. Pens are drying up. It's getting a lot drier, a lot quicker. We've had some very windy, sunshiny days the last 6 or 7 days. It's hard to believe. A week ago, we were complaining about 8 inches of rain, but it's gone. We're starting to see some ryegrass stands starting to kind of deplete, if you would, and kind of dry out. If we don't get any kind of rain, measurable rain here in the next couple of weeks, our ryegrass will be done. But our summer warm season grasses are coming on strong. Run into a lot of people that are managing and starting to straighten up some hay fields, making that herbicide application, and even getting some fertilizer out. So it's time. Summertime is going to be upon us before we know it. Again, Lee, I'm sure will cover the markets. Cattle markets are strong. They had a couple of specials this weekend at Kinder. They had a stocker sale there, and the Hereford sale was at the DeWitt facility at the DeWitt facility on LSU Ag Center, Dean Lee Research Station on Saturday. And I heard they had some really, really good prices over there. I actually went over there Friday night and looked at the cattle. They had some really good cattle in the sale, and those good ones brought good money for sure, from what I'm told. I wasn't able to attend the sale, but it was a good sale from what I'm told. With that being said, I'm seeing people are complaining about some lameness in our area from all the rains, and cattle are limping and having trouble. We went from extremely wet periods. I'm having a feeling it's foot rot issues, and we straightening up the ground situation, getting dry and hard. Feet are tender from being so wet. So if you see some of those lame cattle limping around, try to put a stop to it as quick as you can. Get with that veterinarian, get that antibiotics out there to take care of those problems, because as Lee will cover what things are selling for, it's imperative that we everything needs to be in good health and moving forward, not to have any setbacks at marketing time. So with that being said, just looking forward to getting that hay season started with some applications of fertilizer here shortly, and even had some people questioning wrapping some ryegrass last week, but most of that has seeded out, but ground conditions didn't allow it until here the last few days. But some people are getting some ryegrass and clover cut and getting it wrapped up, but it may be less of quality than they hope for when it's all said and done, because there's a little far along as far as its seeding production. So with that being said, I'll close with that, and look forward to a good productive year, and hopefully we have reasonably good weather throughout the summer and fall.
Thank you, Vince. Yeah, it's definitely starting to get a little toasty out here this afternoon as we're working these calves. And another note, we mentioned it being wet. If you are still calving, or those of you that have wrapped up in the last week or two, one thing that we've seen here at Dean Lee on a couple of calves is navel ill. And so that's where some bacteria can actually come up through the umbilicus, even if you treat it and clean it. It can happen in calves that are a couple of weeks old or so. And essentially what you might see an infection there at the umbilicus or the navel area, but also it can localize in the joints. I know on a couple of our calves, we've seen swollen hocks, swollen knees. Got with a veterinarian, antibiotics kind of clean that up. But where it stays wet, again, even if you clean that umbilicus, at birth and you watch everything, you can see it in calves that are just a little bit older. So something just to kind of watch for if it does stay wet in your area. Lee, we will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Ashley. I'm glad to be with you all here today, even though I have to say it's from my cell phone. So I hope I can make the technology work for me and the service will hold out as well. Boy, what a difference 2 weeks make between the last time that we had one of these news updates and today. Substantial rainfall several days ago across the region, across northwest Louisiana. I'm sure in Tripp's area too. He'll allude to that, or I'm sure he'll report on that. Rainfall amounts in the 4 to 6 inches. Fell at higher amounts the farther north you get along the Arkansas border, and farther south you go, it kind of ebbed just a little bit in northwest Louisiana. But substantial rainfall. But then the wind kicked in again, and the sun came out, and the temperatures moderated, and it sure left us in a hurry. In fact, we could stand a little bit of rain, and some of the cattle and hay producers that I deal with would shoot me if they heard me say that, because it's rare that we get a stretch of weather in spring like we're getting now in northwest Louisiana, an opportunity to make some ryegrass and some clover hay, dry hay that is. And so it's been on a lot of folks' mind. A lot of folks have been trying to put up some dry hay on such an excellent crop of volunteer ryegrass and clover. It has been a very, very good year for clover. Up my way, we rely heavily on volunteer white clover, along with some volunteer crimson that comes up in places. And it has been just an excellent year clover wise. As far as that goes, people are trying to capitalize on it before it gets too rank and too mature. But as being stated, you're seeing a lot of seed heads present. If we don't get a rain, that's definitely going to be an issue. A lot of cattle working been going on, and I would say that we're probably over the hump, especially on the fall-born calves. I would say most everybody has got the initial working done on those. I would say the people that are spring calving are getting pretty close to being wrapped up if they haven't already wrapped up, and their minds are turning towards the upcoming breeding seasons, of course. And I think we covered that pretty extensively in the last news update. We always want to get those bulls checked and everything. Infertile bull can really cost you some serious money during market conditions such as this. Bringing up the market, I'll jump right into the market report, and I can tell you we could spend this entire news update talking about what's happened, what's transpired in the cattle market since the last time that we visited, folks. It's been a roller coaster ride for sure. Just outstanding prices. That's no way to put it. And then the tariff talks that dominated the news, of course, and that caused such volatility in the stock markets, bled over into the cattle markets and other commodities too. And we saw some limit down movements. We saw some triggers on the futures market for expanded limits down the past Monday, and it didn't transpire like that. We've seen a little bit of rebound, but it's been a whipsaw effect as far as these cattle markets go. I've touched on this before when it comes to cattle markets, but I think it may bear in mind to just repeat it as far as the cattle markets go in Louisiana. A lot of times we may not see these record high prices some of these bigger markets up north and west experience. And alternatively, we don't see these huge movements in cash prices all at once, i.e., reaction to a market factor. I'm not saying our markets don't drop here. If you've been in the cattle business in Louisiana very long, you know markets going down is just a part of it, part of the business and everything. What I'm saying is we're insulated just a little bit because our prices aren't at that record high. They don't have as far to fall, if that makes any sense to you all folks and everything. That sometimes on our cash prices we see in local Louisiana sale barns is not as affected as others. So I'll jump into the market report, and I'll if I can get it to work on this phone. So my technological abilities are limited at best. I will say that the data for the yes.
You're cutting out just a little bit.
Hey, okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Hey, okay, I'll try to get through this. I apologize, folks. It's I'm having some technological difficulties here. Okay, so if y'all can hear me, I'll go on ahead and into the market report. This is for the period March the 31st. March 31st until April the 14th. So the average of prices on the 5 to 600 pound steers was $2.68 per pound to $3.57 per pound. That was no noticeable change between the last news update. 5 to 6 weight heifers, $2.49 to $3.34 per pound. That's a 0.17% decrease, so negligible. Cull cows was $1.18 to $1.52. That's 0.73% decrease. Once again, negligible. Cull bulls $1.40 to $1.82. That's a 2.2% increase over the last period. On the replacement cow side, bred cows, the average of the high prices paid was $2,777. Average of the high prices paid for pair cattle, and an all-time high for as long as we've been recording this market data, $3,500. That's average price of the high prices paid across the region. Vince alluded to the fact that there were some replacement sales, stocker sales that went on in the last week or two, and that I'm sure that's factoring into it as well. Folks, just an outstanding market. It remains to be seen what the reaction is going to be to this uncertainty that tariff talks and everything. But cautiously optimistic moving forward that the markets will stabilize just a little bit if we can get some good news in there. And the final thing that I'm going to visit about real quick is just a reminder that our Northwest Beef and Forage Field Day, I know Ashley's probably going to touch on that, is coming up next Thursday, April 24th at the Hill Farm Research Station. Boy, we've got a really good program planned. A lot of interest, a lot of people I've talked to, and thrilled to have Dr. David Anderson coming in from Texas A&M, market economist, does an excellent job breaking down what the cattle markets. And if you have an interest in the direction of the cattle markets, what's been going on and where we're going, I encourage you to travel up and visit with us and hear Dr. Anderson's talk, among the other quality talks that will be at the Hill Farm next Thursday, April the 24th. Ashley, I'm turning it back over to you.
I didn't know you could talk that fast. That was pretty great. Okay, thank you, Lee. So yes, field day next Thursday, April 24th. And we will have that here in the video and podcast descriptions. Tripp, it is now your turn.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all very much for having me again this week. Got a little report for the Northeast region for y'all. Today, we are reporting from the Scott Center in Winsboro, Louisiana. We are back at home base for week number 7 of Master Cattleman. I know whenever we first got kicked off, I made note that we were getting the ball rolling, was very excited to get this class underway, and it seems like just yesterday, and here we are turning the corner and coming into the home stretch of our Master Cattleman course. I can't say enough positive things about the program. If you have not attended the program yet, I highly encourage you to attend. Also, if it's been several years since you went through the program, load up and come on back through it one more time next spring whenever you see the announcement. Don't feel afraid to sign up if you've already been, because it's great to go through this information multiple times and kind of let it serve as a refresher. Today we have Dr. Twidwell going to be joining us to talk about forage agronomy. And it's going to be one of the most important lessons for our producers in Northeast Louisiana. This is an area where we rely very heavily on our forages to maintain a profit. So very excited about tonight. It's been a great group. It's been a lot of fun spending the last 7 weeks with them, and look forward to this week and the next 3 to come. So before I jump into the report, I just had a little side rabbit to chase here. So over the weekend, I was blessed to get to go to a concert in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So we went to Weatherford and picked up a former college classmate of mine, then went up to Stillwater for the concert. And in my travels, I got to see a lot of country that I'd never driven through before. And I was reminded of just how blessed we are to get to be in the cow-calf business in Louisiana, and what a great place this actually is to be in the cow-calf business. We have our own things that we fight. We fight too much moisture at times. We fight privet hedge. We fight tallow trees. We fight, buttercup this time of year, but we don't have to fight mesquite and cedar. That's a formidable adversary. So we're pretty blessed with a pretty favorable place to be in the cattle business. That's something I oftentimes take for granted, that we are in a very nice spot to be in this business. So jumping into the Northeast region, we've received some moisture recently, but it sure has left us in a hurry. If you've been outside today, you know that the temperature is hanging around the mid 80s, and we got a pretty solid wind going out there. While that is drying the world up, it is giving some good hay drying conditions. I know a lot of hay. I say a lot of hay. Some ryegrass hay got dropped over the weekend and today in anticipation of this weather we have coming. I know that Tuesday we have a 20% chance of rain, but other than that, this week's looking pretty good to dry down some ryegrass, and you need good weather for that because ryegrass naturally holds a fair amount of moisture. It's a heavy stemmed crop, so it takes some time to dry out. Oftentimes we don't get this kind of weather until a month from now, so we're blessed to be able to get this crop down, dried, and harvested before May's here because we could be rocking in some pretty good grass by that time. The Bermuda grass is coming in very solid. I've scouted several hay fields in Northeast Louisiana and multiple places in Northeast Louisiana. And yeah, we got a stand of ryegrass that we're about to have to do something with. But the Bermuda grass is coming in very strong. I'd like to double down on something Lee mentioned a moment ago about this being a very good year for clover. It has been an exceptional year in Northeast Louisiana as well, with several varieties of clover, but especially our volunteer white clovers that we get pretty well across the state. It's been an absolutely excellent year as far as that's concerned. Um, so yeah, I guess that's the big topic for today for the Northeast regions. Hay season has begun. Every ranch I've been on in the last couple of weeks, if they weren't making preparations, it was on their mind. Equipment's been getting drug up, equipment's been getting serviced out, and it's about to be time to roll. So for the next 6 or 7 months, the topic of conversation is really going to shift towards hay production. Ryegrass in Northeast Louisiana is playing out. So either that grass needs to be harvested either via your animals grazing it off, or it needs to be cut and baled for hay. Because if left standing, left unchecked, it can shade out your summer annuals that are coming in behind it. They're competing for sunlight, it competes for nutrients, it competes for water, and it can either slow down or seriously impede the growth of your Bermuda grass, whatever summer annuals that you have growing. So be making plans on what you're going to do to get that ryegrass off once it completes its life cycle, whether it be grazing or cutting for hay. If neither of those are an option, getting in there and bush hogging it will suffice. You just got to be able to get that sunlight down to the Bermuda. That way it can go on and take its turn in the growth cycle. Also, with our winter varieties playing out on us right now, you could be heading into a little bit of a nutritional slump before our summer annuals really take off and you can rely on. So have a plan. Either make sure you have enough grass stockpiled somewhere for the cattle, or the summer grass is kicked off enough, or you might need to supplement a small amount for just a few weeks until your summer grasses really take off and we're able to sustain your cattle herd. But now's the time of year where, if unmanaged, your cattle can potentially take a step back on you, seemingly without notice. Guys, that is pretty well it for the Northeast region update. Oh, one more thing to add. In Jonesville, Louisiana on May 2nd, we're going to be having a Northeast Louisiana Haymakers Conference. It's going to be a two-part event. This is the first round of it. We're going to be discussing hay production, storage and feeding, army worm control. There'll be an update from the NRCS office, a few more small things like that. It's going to be a great program. And then it'll be bookended with another one at the conclusion of our hay production season, probably in late September, early October. So this is a program I look forward to watching grow. This is the first year, and I'm very excited about it being in the Jonesville area.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I'm making a note on that right now. I may need you to resend me that flyer for that. Then the only other event really to add in, which we've discussed before, is the hay day that's also happening in the Northwest region. And that's going to be on June 12th. I know we've talked about that before. So those are really the big three things that we have coming up. As we've mentioned previously and Tripp's mentioning now, hay season kind of takes us really into the field and kind of slows us down on a lot of our programs. Plus the heat plays a big factor into that too. So I know it's pushing 86 right now. My sister-in-law said it was 95 in Lubbock over the weekend. My nephews were out in the swimming pool. So summer is sneaking up on us here pretty quickly. And with that, make sure, Brittany, I think there's been 2 or 3 news updates ago. We've talked about that, taking care of yourself and taking care of your cattle. So check your shade structures, check all your water sources, make sure all that's good to go ahead of time in case we run into any bumps as we start pushing through the summer months. with that, we will see y'all again in just a couple weeks.